Hello everyone, welcome back. I'm a huge fan of upgrade sets. The other day I saw this Mig-21PF Cockpit resin set from Eduard for the Eduard Mig-21 on sale. So it was quite cheap. Well, how could I have resisted it? What's more, I have the Eduard Mig-21PF PrfiPACK kit, so it was a perfect combination. The Eduard Mig-21 is just fantastic out of the box, and this high-quality upgrade set surely brings it even to the next level. The kit contains high-quality resin parts, a PE sheet, a decal sheet, and of course an instruction manual. Something was wrong with my kit because the instruction manual didn't match with the part numbers of the PE sheet. But it wasn't a big issue. From Eduard's website, we can find all of the instruction manuals. I started the build with the ejection seat. It's an SK1 ejection seat. This type of ejection seat was used in the early generation Mig-21s. Unfortunately, I didn't find too much information about it. Basically nothing. This seat was used up until the Mig-21PFM version. The parachute was integrated into the seat. The early Mig-21s had a front hinge canopy. The ejection seat worked with the canopy to form a capsule, protecting the pilot from the airflow during high-speed ejection. The idea was great, but this immature technology didn't work well. Many pilots lost their life due to the canopy's uncontrollable movement, especially during low-altitude ejections. The seat was equipped with a leg arresting system, but the pilots still had to place their legs into a proper position. The maximum ejection speed was, with the canopy, 1100 km per hour, which is around 590 knots. Without the canopy, it was 750 km per hour, approximately 400 knots. The minimum altitude was 110 meters, which is 360 feet. The total weight of the seat was 250 kilograms. For the build, I used some reference pictures I took at the Air Museum at Szolnok, Hungary, where is a fantastic collection of the MiG family, from the MiG-15 to the mighty MiG-29. I would have been much happier if I had found an operational manual or some detailed information about the seat to introduce it. For example, I'm not sure what is the function of the two large hooks on the side of the seat at shoulder height. I think it attached the canopy to the seat during ejection. Of course, I could be very wrong. If you have more detailed information, please share it with us in the comment section. I used various gray paints to make the paint job more interesting. Some of the reference pictures show that it was light bluish grayish tone, but some were dark gray, and sometimes the head section was black. So I tried to be accurate, but I'm afraid it's not easy because it depended on the operating unit. The PE sheet in the set is fantastic. The harness is very nice and detailed. It's not easy to bend the straps to the right shape, but it's worth the effort and time because in the end it looks amazing. Be careful when you bend the PE parts. It's easy to break them. Do it slowly with light force. The PE parts are painted only on one side, so don't forget to paint the other side if it's visible. I saw in pictures and videos that for easier access to the pilot, the two shoulder harnesses were hung to the two hooks on the sides of the seat. I really liked it, so I did the same. Cool little detail. Gluing the PE parts, I used ordinary superglue and gel superglue. Basically, these PE parts are weightless, therefore we don't need super strong bonds. Now here is some good advice. Apply the decals before doing the PE shoulder harnesses. Believe me, I made this mistake and it wasn't easy to apply them under the already glued PE parts. I cut the decals from the sheet and put them on a warm weathered pallet. Some of the decals are doubled on the sheet. It's nice from Eduard. If we make a mistake, we have a spare decal to apply. I used Tamiya's decal chemicals. After the decals had dried, I protected the surface with a layer of matte varnish. Matte varnish gives a nice base surface for weathering. For weathering, I used a mixture of dark grey and a touch of brown wash. I always make thinner the washes. I like to apply it step by step. Oil, enamel or any washes are good for the job. Finding the right color tone for the weathering is important. Usually I use multiple layers. The first layer was grey to make shade differences, and the next layer was brown to create color differences. After this light weathering, I fixed it with another layer of matte varnish. And I call it done. I believe it looks pretty good. You probably already realized my new tools. These rotatable little platforms were a gift from an IPMS New South Wales club member who 3D printed these for me. I've never used something like this before, but I really like it. Thanks mate, you are a legend. After I finished the ejection seat, I started the cockpit. I used the same base sky grey color, and then I painted the fine details with the pointy brush. I used Mr. Color paints. I used various dark greys to create color variation to make the back wall and the side panels more interesting. There were PE parts for the side panels. The right panel's PE part was darker grey than the sky grey base color. I didn't mind it. It also created more color variation. I used gel superglue, giving me more time to set the PE parts correctly. In the PrfiPACK kit, there are complete PE side panels. It was a dilemma to use them because the painted details on them are much better than I could ever paint by hand. But unfortunately the details are flat, so they are not raised, therefore not realistic. The ultimate solution would be the 3D printed decals that I used in the F14 cockpit build, but this time I didn't have them. Finally I painted everything by hand, not as perfect as the PE parts, but I prefer the three-dimensional details. There were a few instruments on the side panels. I painted the marks, the indexes, on them with a pointed brush. I diluted the white paint with a drop of paint retarder. This mixture dries slower, giving me more time to paint the tiny details. The rudder pedals were wrong. There were two left parts on the PE sheet, and I think they are too big. I used the PE pedals from the PrfiPACK kit. If you don't have the PrfiPACK kit PE parts, you can use one of the rudder pedal mirrored, but you lose the details on it. Never mind, it's deep under the instrument panel, barely visible. There were clips on the sides of the pedals, so the pilot could pull the pedals, not just push. The Mig-21 had a fully mechanical rudder control system, so it may have been helpful. There is a PE part for the throttle, but it's flat. To create a more realistic throttle control, I used a piece of 0.3mm alloy tube. I painted the instrument panel in rubber black. I glued the PE instrument parts with Tamiya X22 clear. Because we don't need structural strength, a drop of X22 clear does the job. What's more, if it overruns to the instrument, it dries glossy. There was a white line on the center of the dashboard. It was typical of the Soviet fighters in that era. This line tells the pilot if the airplane is out of control, place the stick on the white line. So now it's on neutral ailerons, full forward stick, which should be a recovery from any out of control situation. Now the parts were ready for weathering. I applied a layer of matte varnish and I used the same colors as on the ejection seat. First I used mid-gray and dark gray washes to create color variation and depth to the gray tone. After it dried, I used a heavily thinned brown to develop more exciting colors. Weathering is not just for creating color and tone variation. The darker shades sit into a deep grooves, giving a nice 3D feel, a little optical illusion. Perfect example is the back wall of the cockpit. After a touch of dark gray, it really came to life. After weathering, I applied another layer of matte varnish, and then I dropped a drop of clear into every single instrument. The Mig-21PF had a RP21 Sapphire radar. Its screen was at the top center of the dashboard. Originally, the display was an amber color. First, I painted it in light gray, and then I painted it over in clear orange. There must be some light color under the clear orange, otherwise it won't be visible. Now all the parts were ready for the final assembly. I couldn't resist cutting out the fuselage parts and placing the cockpit into it. It was a fun project. I enjoyed building this high-quality upgrade set. The next chapter will be the full build of the Mig-21PF with a bit of history of the Mig-21 family. I hope you guys enjoyed this build. Please like, share and subscribe to my channel. It really helps me and keeps me motivated. Thanks for watching and see you next time.